Have you ever heard a story so beautiful it almost hurts? Today, we're journeying to the snowy hills of Japan to uncover one of its most moving folk tales, Tsuru no Ongaeshi, or The Grateful Crane. This isn't just a story, it's a profound lesson on kindness, trust, and the price of breaking a promise. In a humble village, there lived an old man and his wife. They were poor, but had kind hearts. One bitter winter morning, as the old man walked through the snow-covered fields, he found a magnificent crane, trapped and wounded in a snare. Its elegant wing was tangled, and it struggled in panic. Without a second thought for his own troubles, the old man gently approached the bird, untangled its wing, and watched with a gentle smile as it soared into the cold gray sky, free once more. He returned home, feeling a quiet warmth in his chest, never expecting anything in return. That very evening, as a blizzard raged outside, there was a soft knock on their door. A beautiful young woman stood on their doorstep, shivering from the cold. "Please," she said with a gentle voice, "I am lost and have nowhere to go. Might I stay with you and work as your daughter?" The old couple, lonely and kind, welcomed her with open arms, their small, simple hut suddenly feeling warmer and brighter. The young woman, whom they came to love as their own, was a blessing. She was hard-working, cheerful, and filled their home with joy. But as winter deepened, their meager savings dwindled, and worry began to cloud the old couple's faces once more. Seeing their distress, the young woman made a surprising offer. "I can weave a cloth so magnificent it will solve all our problems," she said earnestly. "But you must make me one solemn promise. No matter what you hear, you must never, ever look into the weaving room while I am working." The old couple, trusting her completely, readily agreed. The woman disappeared into the small back room, and for 3 days and 3 nights, the only sound was the constant, rhythmic clack, clack, clack of the loom. Finally, she emerged, looking pale and exhausted, but in her hands, she held the most exquisite bolt of fabric they had ever seen. It shimmered like moonlight on fresh snow, woven with threads that seemed to be spun from starlight itself. The old man took the cloth to the market, and its unearthly beauty caused a sensation. A wealthy lord bought it for a fortune, enough to keep the small family comfortable for a very long time. Their worries were over. But seeing the immense wealth the first cloth brought, a seed of greed began to sprout in their hearts. When the young woman offered to weave another, they eagerly agreed, once again promising not to look. She locked herself away, and the clack-clack-clacking of the loom began again. This time, however, the mystery and the promise of more riches gnawed at the old couple. "How does she create such magic?" the old woman whispered. "What is her secret?" Their curiosity, fueled by greed, became an unbearable itch. Finally, they couldn't resist. They crept to the door of the weaving room and peeked through a tiny crack. The sight that met their eyes froze them in horror and disbelief. It wasn't the young woman at the loom. It was the crane. The very same crane the old man had saved. With its beak, it was plucking the long, beautiful feathers from its own body, one by one, and weaving them into the shimmering fabric. The bird was painfully thin, its body nearly bare and bleeding, sacrificing itself to create the magical cloth. The moment their eyes fell upon the crane, the weaving stopped. The creature looked up, its gaze filled with a deep, heartbreaking sorrow. The promise was broken. The next morning, the woman stood before them, her face etched with sadness. "I am the crane whose life you saved," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I wanted to repay your kindness. I only asked for one thing in return, your trust. Now that you have seen my true form, I can no longer stay here." With a final, mournful glance at the couple who had shown her both the greatest kindness and the deepest betrayal, she walked out into the snow. Before their tear-filled eyes, she transformed back into a white crane, spread her now restored wings, and flew away toward the distant mountains, never to be seen again. The old couple lived the rest of their days in comfort from the money she had left them, but their hearts were forever heavy with regret. They had been given a gift of love and trust, but had traded it for curiosity and greed, learning the painful lesson that some promises, once broken, can never be mended. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales from around the world. See you next time.